Okay, so let's take a look at graphing quadratic functions on the calculator. In your notes, you've got like a whole bunch of really step-by-step instructions on how to reset the memory here. But basically, we're not gonna read through all of those, but if you start at your home screen here, and you press second, and then memory is above, let's see if I can get the whole calculator in here. Um, Memory is just above the plus sign here, okay? And then you whip down to number 7, press reset, and then all RAM is good, and then push reset. This will just set your calculator so that, and then push enter a couple of times, and it'll reset your calculator so that you'll have like all the standard settings in there. So you'll be starting from fresh. Okay, so lots of times if you figure you're doing something right in the calculator and you're getting like strange results, a number of times what's going to happen is that you've got something stuck in your memory that's throwing things off. So just reset your memory like that and away you go. Okay, so we're going to graph quadratic functions here today, and the notes have, again, they've got really clear step-by-step instructions, but I'm just going to run you through on the calculator. So we're going to just be focusing on how to take what we see from the calculator and put it on a grid. Okay, so the first thing that you want to do is you want to get your equation. So this is the one we're going to try. We're going to try y is equal to x squared minus 2x plus 5. So get your equation. So go to your y equals and put our graph in. So x squared minus 2x plus 5. Okay, and let's just go see what that gives us. Okay, so our graph there is going to look like this. So all we want to do is start to pick a few pieces off of this graph and put it onto our grid. Okay, so we want to get to a spot where we can put some accurate points onto this grid from this graph. So our most important point here is our vertex down here. So that's the one that we'd like to find. So to run through that, and the instructions, like I say, your instructions are up here. So is the vertex a max or a min? Well, I've got my lowest point here of the graph, called my minimum, is what my vertex is. So here, this is a min value. Okay, so we want to find that point. So since it's a min, so we're going to go second. The place you find that is under your calc menu. Okay, you can see it on the calculator there. So you go second and then push that trace, and then you can choose off the menu you want to find a min. You got to tell the calculator what to do, right? So we want a minimum value. We scroll down to 3 there, and now it's kind of like you're setting up little goalposts around the point that you want to find. So you have to, the calculator's telling you what you to do. It says setting up your left bound or your left goalpost, like your left football post, around the point that we want to find. So this is in a good spot because our cursor is to the left of this point. So I can push enter. So if it wasn't, like if your cursor was over here someplace, you got to get it to a spot where it's to the left. Okay, and you can do that by using your arrows up here. Or you can say, well, look at x here. I know that -1 would be to the left of whatever this point is. This looks like it's around 1, but we don't know it's 1 for sure. So I'm just going to pick anything to the left of my point. I could also put in x is equal to, just type in -1, and it'll set my cursor there. Okay? So now they're asking for a right bound. So we take our cursor and put it to the right of the point we're looking for. See, and this little arrow here is showing that the left goalpost is set up. Okay, so now we want the right one. And so you can either like drag your cursor across there, or what else you can do is say, well, I know that it looks like 2 here is going to set up a goalpost to the right of my point, so I can push in 2 as well. Okay, so either of those things work. Just using your arrows to put the cursor, or you can put a number in down here. Okay, so now my goalposts are set up, and they're around the point that I want here. So I'm going to go ahead and push enter. So it's saying guess. So the calculator is going to guess at what this point is, and it's going to find it. Okay, so I push enter again. Okay, and there it is. Okay, it's telling me a min. My min is at .999999859, and the height of that is 4. So this is giving us a point, right? Okay, so our calculator does some weird things because of the resolution. This number means 1. Okay, x is equal to, this is a really close number to 1. And when you see one that's really close like this, it means that our calculator couldn't find the actual pixel to put on exactly x is equal to 1, and it found the closest pixel it could. Okay, so when I go and record my answer here, okay, so, depending on the way your calculator is set, some of you might see x is equal to 1 here. Okay, but so since the vertex is a min, see, let's go through our notes here. Okay, it's a minimum, and then we followed these instructions, and we found our vertex to be 1 and 4. Okay, so down here, okay, look at what happens. We've got our 1 and 4 on our little table here. Okay, we know that that's going to happen, and on my graph, I've got the point 1 and 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so we're part way there to seeing this picture properly on the graph. Here, let's put this over here. Maybe that's a little bit better. Okay, and so we got our 1 and 4 there. Okay, so what we want to be able to do now is find some more points on here that relate to this, right? Okay, so a good spot to do that, I'm trying to figure out how to do this without the glare. There we go. Okay, so that's a nice spot there. Okay, so go second and table, and here it's going to show you some points. Now, if your table doesn't say, it doesn't start at 0 like this, you can go and, so this is just all the points that are on my graph, right? So at 1, look at that, it says 4. And at 0, I can see that a point on my graph is going to be 5. Okay, so I can write in 5 there. Okay, and let's just go on either side. I know that this is my vertex. And we talked about axis of symmetry here. I know that that goes through my vertex here. So my graph has to be symmetrical on either side of this line, x is equal to 1, right? Okay, so if I see that 0 is 5, 0 has a point of 5 here, I know that on this side, my table should tell me at 2, I should also be at 5, right? Because it has to be symmetrical to along this line x is equal to 1. So, and it is. Okay, so there's 5. Okay, but back to the table, like, and then you can kind of scroll up and down here to see different values. Okay, so we want to look at -1 as well. So at -1 it's 8. So it only makes sense that at 3, okay, so at -1 I've got 8 here. Okay, so it only makes sense that at 3, 1, 2, 3, okay, that's 2.2x is away from my line of symmetry, just like this was 2.2 spaces away from my line of symmetry. I'm going to get the same value, 8, for my graph. Okay, and so this parabola is going to look exactly like the one that we had on our graph on our calculator. Okay, so you can kind of see that symmetry going around the vertex. Okay, I'm 2 away from 1 here, so and 2 away from 1 here, so my height is going to be the same for the parabola. Okay, on the calculator, sometimes your table will start, so you'll go second table, and it'll start in a spot that that you don't want to see. Like for example, it might start at, let's say, -20. Okay, so let's say that you go to your calculator and it starts at -20 here, and that's out here someplace, right? So you want to be able to see around 1. Okay, and the way that you kind of set your calculator right for that is for table set. Okay, so I can go to second, and if you push this window button, it says table set above it. Okay, and this just tells you where you can start your table. So if you want to start your table, see, I wanted to see -1 here, so let's say I go a little bit more negative there, and I wanted to start at -2. Okay, now when I go second table, okay, that's where my table starts. Okay, and so you can kind of track down your values that way. Okay, so here's a nice looking parabola. Okay, that is a really good good indicator of the one that we had to begin with, right? So here's our equation. Our graph looked like this, and now you've put a nice graph of what that looks like down here. Okay, let's try one more. All right, so this one isn't, this one got one little curveball towards it, so let's just go put the equation in first. Okay, and so let's go get rid of this one, and I'm going to put in minus x squared minus x plus 12. Okay, and when I go to graph this one, all right, it doesn't quite show me everything. Like I want to see my, well, in this case, it's going to be a maximum value, right? It's going to be at the top. So, but I want to see that point. So there's a couple of ways that you can go ahead and find that. The one that the note suggests tells you to go to your zoom window, and then you can go down to number 8, okay? And you can push integer, okay? Z integer. So if I do that, I push enter once, I push enter twice. It shows me the same graph, but now it's set my window so I can see the max. Okay, so that max value is our vertex. So let's go ahead and find it. So I'm going to go second and calc. Okay, and now because we're looking for a max value, I'm going to go down to number 4. And I'm going to set my goalposts up around to the left and to the right of this. So it's asking me for a left bound. So I'm going to take my cursor over to the left side. Okay, so I'm to the left of the point that I want to find, right? And I'm going to push enter. Same on the other side. Okay, so now I'm to the right of the point I want to find up here. So here my goalpost is set up right on the left. I'm going to set one up on the right. So it looks like my point is going to be between my goalposts there. And now I'm going to get the vertex. Push enter. Okay, so it says that our maximum value, or our vertex, is negative. Okay, and that's, again, it gives us a little value there that's really close to a half. And again, it's an issue with the resolution. So this is negative 0.5, or negative a half, and 12.25. Okay, so let's go take a look at my graph now. Right, we'll try and draw this in. Okay, so let's go graph our point. So at negative 5, and we're going to need 12.25 here, and I only got 10, so I'm going to make each of these 2. So 2, 4, 6, 8. So 10 I'm going to mark here. Okay, and we need 12.25, so negative 5 and 12.25, 10, 12 will be like just a little bit above that line, right? Okay, and so now what we can do is we can go ahead and, well, our axis of symmetry we can draw. So let's draw that through here. Okay, and so we've got our vertex here, our axis of symmetry goes through there, that's the line x is equal to negative 0.5, or negative a half. Okay, and now let's see what we've got on our table here. Okay, they've given us negative 2, negative 1, 0, and 1, because somewhere in here, right, if we make another little box, we've got negative 1/2 and negative and 12.25. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at our calculator here and go to the table, and we want to look around negative a half, so this is a pretty good spot. So 0 is going to be 12. Negative 1 is also going to be 12. Okay, and so you can see how that symmetry kind of lines up here, right? These are both 1/2 away from our vertex, right? So 1/2 this way, negative 1/2 that way, makes that nice line of symmetry. So I got 12 and 12. Okay, so it's around negative a half. Okay, so why don't you guys go ahead and find the other values here and put them on the graph and finish off the graph there for me. And so make sure for next class that you can, well, that you bring a calculator, but also that you can use it to find your vertex and find some points around it on the table. You'll be good. Cheers.